Hey, welcome back to the Mission to Wealth podcast. I'm your host, Tim Yu, and I got my special friend Keith Andrews in the room. If you haven't heard of Keith Andrews, he also hosts his own podcast, the Real Estate Junkie podcast, and it's absolutely awesome. He talks a lot about real estate, life, and business. He's also a full-time real estate agent, and he's now opening a new property management company. So let's freaking get into it. What's up, Keith? What's going on, brother?
What's going on, Tim? Good to see you, man. It's been a minute.
Yeah, man, it's been almost a year since we've last really connected.
Yeah, I think were you episode 5 or 6? I think so.
It's one of the OGs, man.
You are. Yeah, you're a legend on my show, man.
No, I appreciate it, bro. But hey, we've come full circle. You're one of my first guests on my new podcast as well. So I'm excited to kind of jump into what you're working on and what it's all about, man.
Yeah, man. Let's get into it.
Cool. So tell the audience something about yourself, what you're doing and all that stuff.
Well, I guess first off, I'm a real estate investor, and I got into real estate investing seriously got into it around 2016, 2017, stumbled into the Burr method, and back then, again, rates were they were going down. So I rode that wave, and as I was accumulating these properties, fixing them up, I pretty much didn't have to do much to increase the value because they were just going up in value anyway. And then the payments on them were going down because of being able to refinance at a lower rate. But long story short, by 2021, I had a decent sized portfolio and enough cash flow coming off of that portfolio to quit my 9-to-5. And I basically told my wife, and I had a really good job. I got out of the Army, I got into high tech, climbed the ladder. At the very end, I was a GM of a software company, and life was good. I was making good money, but I was working my tail off, always gone, always away, missing so many valuable moments with my family. And real estate really did set me free. And that was my goal. It was like, okay, I didn't think I was going to be able to pull it off that fast. Yeah. I originally had a vision of 10, 15 years. I was able to pull it off in 5. There's a lot of gurus out there that will tell you that you can't live off of cash flow and all this stuff. That's true in the beginning, but after you build some equity up and you really get those cash flow numbers up, you really can. And I did it. I proved it. But I got bored.
Yep.
At first I was like, hey man, I'm just gonna, when I drop my son off at school, I'm just gonna kick back, relax, just do whatever I want. Well, that didn't last very long. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. And if I wasn't working on my own investment property, I started helping other people, right? People were coming to me, lots of friends and family. Hey man, how'd you do it? Show me the ropes. And I was doing that. So I ended up getting my real estate license. I thought I could be not only a value to myself having that license, but also I could help others. I have access to the MLS. I can list properties. I can be the buyer's agent. I can negotiate good deals for friends and family. And that's really how I got started as a agent, is because of just pure boredom. Seriously.
That's a good problem to have.
And I also started my podcast because I was like, what am I going to do all day? Let's talk about real estate. So that's basically why I started my real estate podcast. But then one day, I had a client who we both know, Rob, right? Robert Johnson. And he wanted to buy a live-in Burr. That's basically what he was looking for. He was PCSing. He was in the Army. He was PCSing. And to our non-military listeners out there, that just means when the Army gives you orders to be stationed somewhere else, you have to pack up, and move to that next location. And they call that PCS. Anyway, he moved here. I found him a house that was, it had a lot of equity potential in it. His plan was to turn that into a rental. He already had a couple rentals under his belt. And we went to lunch one day, and he was like, man, I really want to start a property management company. And we were just talking about it, and I had a ton of friends that were like begging me to manage their properties at the same time, right? Because I've helped a lot of investors out, a lot of friends out here buy investment properties. And, you know, maybe they were managing it themselves, or maybe they, you know, hired a property manager, but they were just let down, right? You know, they'd have maybe long vacancies in between tenants. When they went and checked on their house, their grass was overgrown, just there was no care there. And so they're like, Keith, dude, could you please just manage my property? Because I was managing my own properties, and they saw what I, you know, they saw what my properties look like. And they're like, I want my property to be managed like yours. And so anyway, Rob and I got together, and we started our own brokerage. It's called Alpha Zulu Realty. And our primary focus is property management. So basically, being we are a full service realty though, so we'll help buyers and sellers, but our real focus is on providing excellent property management services.
Amazing. Is Rob a realtor as well?
He is. He recently got his license, and he's learning the ropes on that end. And so yeah, it's cool. And we actually have another agent too that works on our team today. He's actually one of our earlier guests on my second guest on my podcast, Jason Ewert.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I know him too. Yeah.
It's funny because we're like, you know, Jason is an Army veteran. Rob's still in the Army, but on his way out. I'm an Army veteran, and we live in a military town, basically, Colorado Springs. So we work a lot with veterans and active duty military, whether it's, you know, doing a house hack and then eventually managing that property for them and whatnot. So yeah.
Bro, I love that, man. That's sick.
Yeah, man, it's been fun.
So I know every state's a little different, but in Colorado, does every person have to have a license, or do you just have to have one broker license to manage your property management company?
So if you're managing a property in Colorado Springs, anyone's property, that means signing leases, signing contracts between property owners, anything like that, you have to have a real estate license.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So that is why I started my own brokerage. That's why we started our own brokerage, was because that would be the only way that we could legitimately manage other people's properties. Now, you can manage your own properties without a real estate license, but if you're managing someone else's, you have to have that license.
That makes sense. Okay. Yeah, that's kind of the same way it is in Kentucky. And dude, I don't know how you feel about property management companies, and this may be a reason why you guys also started it, because man, there's so much bad stigma with property management companies, especially in my market. And this is not a jab at anybody out in Louisville, Kentucky, but like I call these property management companies and I'm like, bro, I got like 10 properties I'm looking to offload into a portfolio. And I talked to somebody for 3 days, or I talked to someone on a Monday. I didn't hear back from them for 3-4 days. Yeah. And I called them back yesterday. I'm like, do you not want my business? And like, this doesn't sound like, the confidence isn't there. You can't even call me back. You know, it's crazy.
It is. And that's pretty typical, honestly. And you have to think what's going to happen when there's a maintenance request from a tenant, right? Like some of these things, if you don't jump right on top of it, it could cause some serious damage to a home, right? I've had tenants call me up and say, hey, Keith, the wall's a little mushy in the basement. I'm like, what? Mushy? Well, that means there's a leak there and you better get on it right away. But if a property management company isn't answering the phone and that goes on for weeks and weeks, now you have black mold and the problem's a lot worse. So it's really important that if you have a property management company that you can respond immediately. And that's something that we're really fine tuning right now. Like we're not going to just take on everyone at once.
Yeah.
Like we're slowly ramping people on because we want to make sure that we could provide a quality service to them.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, right? I think property management companies start out with the right intentions. Like they feel the same way we do. We're going to start
Yeah.
a property management company because we feel like service is bad. And I think they grow way too fast.
Yeah, they do.
And they don't have the infrastructure for it, you know?
They do. That's one of the reasons why we're like adding agents. Like we have 3 agents on our team. The plan is when we have certain door numbers in mind. When we get to a certain number of doors, we need to hire on an additional employee. We need to bring in a new agent because we want to be able, we don't want to have too many doors where it's too hard for us to keep up with. We want to make sure that we're scaling this thing slowly and correctly, right? And that's the goal. Because I've been let down by property managers. I used to have a property manager on my own portfolio in the very beginning, but I cut them loose after just a few vacancies, and my house was sitting on the market for like 3 months, and I'm like, dude, how is this not rented? And it's June. Like
It's like the peak.
Yeah, this doesn't happen here. And then I look at Zillow. And on Zillow, when there's a rental listing on Zillow, you could see how many applicants, like people actually requested information about that property. You could see a number there. And if you're looking at your property, it's like, it's been there for 90 days and there's 82 requests, but no one's living in it yet. What the hell is going on?
Yeah, right? Dude. I feel you because I literally, so the reason why I called this property management company or calling other property management companies is I used to manage everything like myself.
Yeah.
And I moved to Maryland. So I'm like, I'm looking for someone to test out their services by renting out my old primary residence. I can easily get it rented myself, right? Like I listed it just for like, a joke on Zillow and I got like 30 responses to it, right?
Yeah.
But I want to see if somebody can actually manage this house.
Yeah.
And it's like crazy to me, like that they don't even respond to you. Like a client, like I'm trying to pay.
Yeah, I know.
It's nuts.
It's because they probably have too many doors and not enough resources. So I think the people that work for you, you got to make sure you have the people in place. I mean, There's a lot of these property management softwares that basically run on autopilot, and they sell you on the fact that, we can, when a tenant files a maintenance request, we will basically automate the process of reaching a vendor to go over there and fix it. Dude, at the end of the day, man, really, there's nothing better than real people on the ground in the area.
Right.
It's not something you could do remotely. You need to have people on the ground 24/7 that can get to every single door. And if you don't have that, then you shouldn't be in property management.
I agree with you, man. I agree. Because the virtual guys, the ones that are doing like nationwide property management, they're literally just hiring people that live in Louisville. So it's like, you might as well just like not do that. I don't know. It's, some are effective, some aren't. But like, I tell most people, if you have like 5 properties or less, and you have a little bit of time, you can do it by yourself with with all the softwares like Avail, Rent Ready. But if you're starting to get bigger or you're just way too busy, like, dude, you got to figure out someone or something to hire out, because I can't handle like my properties anymore.
I completely agree. For me, I think the number is like 3. 3, you can manage yourself if the properties are well maintained, right?
Yep.
And when I say well maintained, I mean the furnace is good, the water heater is good, roof. All the major stuff. The roof is good, but a storm could change everything overnight. But still, you can manage it yourself. Like I literally had someone reach out to me this last week, and he was like, "Hey Keith, man, I've been trying to rent out my property, and I'm having a hard time, and that's why I'm reaching out to you if you can help me manage it." And I look it up, and I'm like, "Oh, this is listed by some other agent, right?" And I'm like, "That's interesting." I'm like, "Well, first off, it's priced too high. That's why you're not getting any applications. And second of all, like, he did a crappy job with your pictures. Look horrible. They're like, it looks like a dark and dingy place. You could probably do this house justice if you just went in there, took the pictures yourself, posted this one up, list it for $100 less a month because, anyway, I won't get into the details on it, but bottom line is I talked them out of using me or another property manager because this house is like 3 years old. You're not going to have any issues with it, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
If you run into an issue with a tenant, give me a call. I'll gladly manage it for you, but I don't want to charge you for something that is going to be pretty much turnkey for you.
Yeah, like literally, guys, like I would tell you how I found success by listing my properties is I pay this lady $150, okay? 150 to 200 depending on how big the house is. She goes and takes professional real estate photos. Like that's her job. Right? The professional photos for everything. Airbnb, midterm, rental, whatever. Those will get you like 15% more showings just having nice photos, right? Every time I see a poopy photo on Zillow, like a for sale by owner or something, like think about it, like the perception. You're like, this house looks horrible. Like, why would I want to live there? You know? Yeah. And just download one of the free softwares. You're good.
Yeah, true. I mean, you can even use Zillow. Zillow has a rental manager. If you're only managing 1 or 2 properties, that's all you need. But again, once you get past that, then you may consider a property manager, unless you just absolutely love managing properties. I mean, some people do.
No, they do. Some people love it. I know people that was like, I don't want to let go of my 22 unit portfolio. Like, I'm like, hey, more power to you, bro. And the thing is, so you don't always have to be that real estate mogul that owns like 1,000 properties. If you want to manage your 22 and not scale, hey, as long as you're happy, man.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, dude. So like, how long? So like, where in the process is your property management company? Are you guys like live? Like, you guys got clients now? Like, what's going on?
So we have basically started managing our own portfolio to just really grease the wheels, right? Make sure when a tenant files a maintenance request, that process gets to us right away and we're able to answer it. We're making sure that our leases and everything are airtight. We've been working with an attorney on that, which has been a little bit slower than we'd like. But yeah, we're starting to take on clients now. And our goal as of right now is to end the year with 50 properties.
Okay.
And that's at the point where we could afford to hire on a full-time maintenance person. Right now, we have a couple contractors that we work with that basically we have an agreement with. Hey, man, if we call you at 1 a.m., dude, we need you. And we're going to pay you, but we need you. So we have that, but we want to actually bring on a full-time employee for that. And our plan is to have that guy like locked in by the end of the year. So that's
is he going to be salary based or by job?
He's going to be salary based. Once we get to the 50 door mark, we'll have enough that can support that, right? And that way we don't have to worry about it. Like it's like we know he's going to be on call 24/7. He knows he's going to be on call 24/7. And it just makes more sense to have someone like that and a backup as well. So the backup would be a contractor, but once we get to like 100 doors, now we have
full time.
Exactly.
Yep. No, I was actually about to ask you that. Like, yeah, this is kind of becoming like a masterclass of like building your own property management company. But a lot of people are afraid to hire a full-time employee, right? And it's like having those temporary workers, you always have like a revolving door. There's no consistency, and you're probably going to spend more money in the long run than just paying someone on salary.
Yeah, you are.
You know what I mean?
You are. Yeah, absolutely.
How's that hiring process been going? Like what struggles were you kind of going through?
Well, we're not at that stage quite yet, but we already have the guys. Like we have a couple people already that are working with us. They are our go-to maintenance people right now. And both of them are like, yeah, man, we've already had these conversations with them. They're just ready for us to start paying them. And we're like, okay, for right now, we have no work for you. Like literally, like maybe one maintenance request, every couple weeks, but that's it.
Yeah.
So there's just not enough to justify hiring him on full time yet. But we'll pay him when he goes out to a job now, when we pay him good. But so that's something that we're gonna we're going to learn as we go too. Like we're gonna constantly make some pivots in this business to adjust to the market, to adjust to what we learn along the way. And I think that's important, regardless of what you're doing, property management or anything else, is that you never get stuck in that box, right?
Yeah, 100%. For anybody out there that's, trying to, I wouldn't say just like manage their property, but let's say if they were going to try to start their property management company, right? And I'm asking this because I'm selfish, right? Because we want to start our own company eventually, just to be like a disruptor in our market. What would be like the first couple steps to do after you get your broker license and you're starting to market for clients? Like, do you guys have like a gate of like what type of properties you initially take on?
Yeah. So actually, we have already talked about this, and we really want to focus on single family homes. We are not going to take on large apartment complexes. We're not going to take on, we'll take on up fourplex and below. That's it. But we really want to focus on single family homes, and we really want to focus in on these military communities, right? We have in Colorado Springs, we have 5 major military installations. We have the Air Force Academy, right? We have Peterson Space Force Base. We have Schriever. We have Fort Carson, right?
Yep.
Army base, and then we have Cheyenne Mountain, right? Which is that one that you see in the movies.
Yeah, is that like the space place? Like
it is. It's
the bunker.
It's the bunker, right? It's like 2 miles down or something. It's literally my backyard. I'm looking at the mountain right now. It's crazy.
Wow.
But when I built my portfolio here, I focused on single family homes, right? Like not initially. I started out going, I'm going to go with the, small multifamily and then scale to large multifamily. But I ended up settling on single family homes because I was doing the Burr method, and single family homes are the best for that because it doesn't matter what the income is. The market will determine the ARV, right? What you do to it. So it's a lot easier. It was a lot easier to get to the numbers I needed to be at. And plus, I have really great tenants that I'm able to put in these homes. And again, I focused on buying around these bases that we have here. And then when I started working with, my initial clients, friends and family, I'd use the same strategy with them. And so a lot of our clients that come to us maybe they are active duty and they're wanting to get into real estate. So maybe they're looking to house hack something, but they eventually want someone that they can trust to manage that property once they leave, because their goal is like, and this is something we actually tell everyone. Like I have, and I'm kind of jumping around, but I just want to just lay this out here. Is one of the things I always tell people is like, never sell real estate. Like you make money when you buy it. Unless you're doing a 1031 exchange, never sell it, because that's one of my biggest regrets is the houses that I own that I sold are now worth so much more. They would now rent for so much more. So when we're working with these people that are getting into real estate, I'm like, hey, live in this house. Even if you're not house hacking it, buy it with the intention of renting it out in the future, and we'll manage it for you. So those are the types of clients that are coming to us in the first place. And again, they're either active duty, so guess where they want to live? By the bases. Or they're an investor that goes, hey, I heard your podcast, Keith. I love what you're doing, what you're talking about. I want to buy a house near a military base. Can you help me out? And so that's really been my focus. And with Rob, there's some synergy there.
Yeah.
So we are really going to keep focusing on that. Now we may pivot. Like next year, you could talk to me and I might like, nope, we went in a completely different direction. But today, that's kind of like, that's where our focus is, and that's our bread and butter.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. It's in line with what you guys do on the realtor side. And yeah, it's like you said, it's perfectly okay to pivot. Like if you're not pivoting, you're probably not growing as a business anyway.
That's right.
We pivot all the time with all our real estate stuff. And speaking of pivoting, I know we were talking about your property management company, but let's talk about the Real Estate Junkie podcast, man. So
Okay,
you're like nearing a year like of doing this show now?
I am. I launched. The first episode was launched in November of 2023, and I've consistently released an episode every other week. I didn't go every week because that's just
It's a lot.
it's a lot with everything else I have going on, and but yeah, I've released it every other week, and it's been just a great journey for me. It's been a lot of fun. I've had a lot of interesting guests. I've learned, that's the best part of it, is learning from your guests. Like
Oh my gosh.
I've leveraged some of the stuff I've learned from my guests in my own portfolio, in my own business. You know, it's crazy how much you learn just talking to people. And it's great because my podcast is a way for people to kind of eavesdrop in a conversation I'm having with someone else and learn with me.
Oh yeah. No, 100%. That like my podcast is a baby, right? Like it's only a couple episodes in, but just recording episodes with people, like the networking is amazing. I've had conversations with people that I've never had before, just for like, hey, like we kind of know each other, but like, do you want to hop on my show? And we end up having a 40-minute conversation, and that's only like on the screen. Like you don't see the conversation like before or after. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so it's a great tool. And also people are learning some good stuff. So obviously you've had some great guests on your show. Are you thinking about maybe rebranding, or like what's going on with that?
I am definitely considering it. And the reason being is, so far, all my episodes have been pretty much just like, I mean, I boxed myself in. I called it the Real Estate Junkie, right? So you can't get more boxed in than that, right? So all of my episodes have been about real estate in some capacity. But what the listeners are not seeing, and sometimes you get glimpses of it in the episodes, but you're not seeing like what you just said, what we talked about before the episode, what we talked about after the episode. And a lot of the things that we start talking about are dealing with health, right? Exercise, like faith, family, all these different things, challenges outside of that box of real estate. And so these conversations have been so incredibly interesting. And I think they could add a lot of value to people's lives to tap into them, because I'm talking to successful people, but successful people have their own set of challenges outside of, you know, what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Outside of real estate. So when you can tap into that and learn from that, that could help you be successful no matter what you're doing. So yeah, man, I've been thinking a lot about that. I really want to be able to dive into these other topics and just sometimes not talking about real estate at all. So I am considering, it's not finalized, but I've been like just scratching on paper different concept ideas, maybe changing the name of my podcast. I have to look at what that does, because I don't want to lose the momentum, right?
Yeah.
My podcast started out like when the first couple episodes, I think I had like 50 downloads, and they were probably like literally all my friends. No one else was listening to it.
I feel that, bro.
Right. And then I've seen it just like grow. And now like literally I've got it to a point where I'm getting about 1,000 downloads across all the platforms, right?
Wow.
Because I'm on every single, you know, Apple, Spotify, all that. I also have YouTube. But if you look at how many views I'm getting on a daily basis, it's around 1,000, right? Which is huge. And I you can see where they're listening from, and it's like all over the country. It used to be.
You can see that?
You could see that. Yeah. It used to, because I use Buzzsprout.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about doing too.
Yeah, Buzzsprout's good. And you can also, you know, you can get that information from YouTube as well. But it used to be where like everyone that was listening was either in my hometown, San Jose, California, or Colorado Springs, and maybe Denver, something like that. But now it's literally like all over the country. And I'm like, wow, this thing is like really sprouted. So I don't want to lose that, right? So I got to figure out, if I change the name, what happens? Like, do I lose that audience that's already tapped in?
Yeah.
I don't know how the major podcast platforms handle that, but that's something I'm kind of looking into right now, because I am considering like calling it the Life Junkie, and just take real estate out of it. and then focus on health, wealth, and family, basically.
Yeah. I mean, if you like hear Alex Hormozi talk about it, like his new podcast, or his not his new podcast, but his podcast, The Game, it used to be something else. It used to be about gyms.
Yeah.
And he talked about it on one of his shows. He said, dude, I grew my channel. Like, I had tens of thousands of listeners on my gym podcast, and I literally changed it to The Game, and nobody gave a crap.
It's just like they continue listening to it. It does.
Yeah.
See, I don't know.
Because they buy into what we're saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you want to do it, dude, just go for it, bro.
Yeah. Well, that's the plan. Is like, I want to end this year, like season 1, and then season 2 is basically flip the script.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that, bro. Okay. So we are at the point of the show where we want to kind of spotlight the guest, right? So tell everybody, what's going on in your business, if you need any help, and ultimately, where can people connect with you? And I'm going to put all those links down in the description for you guys.
Okay. So first off, you can follow me on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, everywhere. I am Keith Andrews. And also our brokerage that's, our property management company that we set up is alphazulurealty.com. So if you go to Alpha Zulu Realty, that's the phonetic alphabet for A to Z, because we do everything from A to Z when it comes to investment properties. That's really our focus. So we can help you buy, we can help you sell, although we'll try to talk you out of selling, because I think that's a big mistake. In some cases, it makes sense. If you come to us and you go, hey, Keith, hey, Rob, we want to, 1031 this single family home so we can buy a fourplex or something else, then we'd be like, yeah, we're all about that. We'll help you. In fact, we may have a buyer if it's already an investment property, right? And there's a tenant in there, even better, right? Because we have a ton of clients coming to us all the time saying, hey, I just want something turnkey with a tenant already in it. So like, this is the place. If you have that, if you have an investment property and you do want to sell it, we probably have a buyer for you. So definitely check us out. Again, it's alphazulurealty.com. If you just want to talk real estate, if you just want to talk about, hey, maybe you're somebody that's thinking about getting into real estate investing, you're thinking about building a portfolio, give us a call. You don't even have to be in Colorado Springs. We love talking to people. So that's who we are. That's what we're doing. And that's how you can find us.
Amazing, brother. Dude, everybody hit Keith Andrews up, man. Listen to his podcast. It's absolutely awesome. And ultimately, bro, thank you for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, man. It was fun.
Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you.